On the video that I did about the Royal Rumble weekend, I talked about wanting to see change in WWE. I said I wanted to see a refresh in the company. Normally this happens post WrestleMania. Normally we see things change then. But I think we're honestly seeing a lot of change in the company right now. One of the ways to look at how the company is doing is to look at its champions. And I think WWE has a lot of fresh faces either holding or challenging for their championships. I was going to do this video yesterday, but one more change happened last night on Raw. I want to quickly talk about Raw, SmackDown, NXT, talk through their championships, and I also want to talk a little bit about what normally happens for NXT personnel post WrestleMania. So quickly going through the champions. For Raw, the flagship program, of course, of WWE every Monday night, the Universal Champion is Kevin Owens. A relatively fresh face in the company, not built just like Bray Wyatt as you'd expect for a traditional WWE champion. He's a bit rotund, he is got a beard, he's not the atypical wrestler that WWE has had as its champion for many years. But it's great to see Kevin Owens be the Universal Champion. Now, I honestly, in my opinion, and I kind of want to do a video about WrestleMania, but I want to wait a little while until after Fastlane to do it. I think that Kevin Owens will lose the championship to Goldberg at Fastlane. Then actually, I would like to see Goldberg lose at WrestleMania to Brock Lesnar. Lesnar hold the Universal Championship, and then we have, I think, a great story of Brock Lesnar, the amateur background, the mixed martial arts background, the UFC champion, versus a guy who has had to scratch and claw his way up the professional ranks to get to where he is today. Kevin Owens versus Brock Lesnar, I would like to see that feud post WrestleMania. The United States Champion is Chris Jericho, wrestling for about 30 years. I think he's on his way out again. It's quite ironic. I was looking through a couple of promos that he did in his early days in WWE and talking about wrestlers coming in for one more run and then leaving, then coming back again, and then coming back again. And that's kind of what Chris Jericho has done for the last few years. I think obviously he's going to drop the United States Championship before he leaves to go on the road with his group Fozzy. Probably Roman Reigns or like Rusev that he'll drop the title to, but hopefully he will drop it to a decent performer. Last night on Raw, the WWE Raw Women's Championship was switched between Charlotte Flair, who lost it to Bayley. Now, Bayley is a very popular wrestler in WWE. She's I'm not a huge Bayley fan, but she's extremely popular. She is a talented in-ring performer. She does have the capabilities. I think one day, I think she, to be honest, right now I'll say this, I think she is a WWE Hall of Famer in the waiting. Hopefully, if she could stick at it for quite a few years, depending on what happens in life, of course. Maybe she wants to have children, maybe she doesn't, who knows what will happen, but Bayley is a very talented performer, and I think it's a real credit to WWE that they have no less than 3 women's championships in the company. Neville is the Cruiserweight Champion, defeating Rich Swann at the Royal Rumble. Neville is one of the guys who came up through the WWE system in NXT originally, as part of the original kind of NXT as it is now, as it is not a talent contest or a augmented reality show as the wrestling promotion that it's grown into be. He was one of the biggest early stars in that in NXT. He's been hit and miss on the main roster, stop and start due to injuries and different various things. Neville, I believe, has the potential to be a kind of like Chris Jericho figure Jericho came up through the smaller weights, the cruiserweights, the light heavyweights, the junior heavyweights, and now is, of course, I think, again, another one that's bona fide Hall of Famer. I would love to see that be the path that Neville takes over the next few years. That Neville establishes himself now in this cruiserweight division again. He shows the WWE Universe and WWE, including the McMahons and Triple H, what he can do, and he moves up the ladder in WWE, eventually to main event status. I think Neville has got the in-ring skills. Not everybody likes his accent, but then again, it's if you have an accent like I do, it's very, very difficult not to have it. It is exactly what might hold Neville back a little bit, but I think Neville could be a future Chris Jericho figure. Luke Gallows and Carl Anderson in the WWE Raw Tag Team Champions. I would have loved to see them come in as a dominant tag team into WWE. Didn't happen. I would love to see Finn Balor team up with those guys and reform the club like they did in Japan for New Japan Pro Wrestling, and kind of help him achieve success. Maybe say because of limited dates, Kevin Owens, like I said earlier, taking on Brock Lesnar for the Universal Championship post WrestleMania. Maybe because Lesnar's limited dates, Owens wins the title back, and Finn Balor, who was never defeated for the championship, comes back and enlists the help of his friends Luke Gallows and Carl Anderson to go against Kevin Owens and to try and dominate Monday Night Raw. For SmackDown, there's also some great champions in that. First of all, the SmackDown Tag Team Champions, American Alpha, Chad Gable and Jason Jordan. Two young guys. Love to see American Alpha actually last a long, long time. I'd love to see those two guys remain a tag team for years to come. We never know what's going to happen. Sometimes in those tag teams, somebody becomes the Shawn Michaels, somebody becomes the Marty Jannetty, and it's not always the person that people would suspect it is. Maybe Chad Gable will become the biggest star out of the two of them if they ever split. Because a lot of people, I think, put in their kind of spotlight on Jason Jordan. But they're a great tag team. Love to see them remain together. Naomi is the SmackDown Women's Champion. It was great seeing her take the title from Alexa Bliss at Elimination Chamber. And again, it's one of the great things that WWE put in their faith in the likes of Alexa Bliss and Naomi when they already got, and I know she's still very young early in her WWE career, but the likes of Becky Lynch and Mickie James as well, now back in the WWE and on SmackDown brand, it looks like exclusively, to have such talent there and be able to give the spotlight for the SmackDown Women's Championship to Alexa Bliss and Naomi. It's a great thing for WWE to do. I would like to see Mickie James maybe win at least one more Women's Championship in WWE for her career, whether it be the Raw or SmackDown Women's Championship. And I really hope that she's really helping the women on SmackDown, working with them maybe before shows, maybe even just advice backstage. Because Mickie James has been obviously around the world. She's been away from WWE for the last 7 years, has gained a lot of experience there as well. And they've got. I mean, I don't think the women's roster on all three brands are as deep, as great as they could be, but I think they do have enough women, and if they really do genuinely work on it, I think they could have two, and I think they do right now. I think the Raw Women's Championship is getting the spotlight more put on it, but I think they've got the capability of supporting two very strong women's divisions in WWE on the main roster right now. Dean Ambrose is the Intercontinental Champion. Yes, he's an established guy, and I would say he is certainly a WWE main event guy now, without a doubt. I think he did a decent job at the Elimination Chamber. That dive that he did, of course, was one of the highlights. I think there's something missing a little bit from Dean Ambrose lately. I don't know what it is, but just for me, there's something missing about Dean Ambrose lately. I really would. It's difficult. It's just there's something not entirely clicking for me for Dean Ambrose. Maybe I'm not the right demographic completely for Dean Ambrose. I think he's a great performer. I think it's weird now that they're actually public about Dean Ambrose and Renee Young, because Daniel Bryan said, how about if you were interviewing Dean Ambrose to Renee Young on this Talking Smack program that happened immediately after Elimination Chamber. But you know, I don't know, there's something missing about Dean Ambrose, but I don't quite know what it is, but Dean Ambrose is certainly a main event WWE guy. And the new WWE champion, of course, is Bray Wyatt. Won it at the Elimination Chamber match on Sunday, defeating AJ Styles, Baron Corbin, Dean Ambrose, The Miz, and John Cena in that match. I'll admit I was hesitant because I thought maybe WWE are going to be relying on the guys that they've had for about 15 or so years now. Super Cena doing his bit. I've never been a real John Cena fan. And I thought, here we go, he's going to dominate the Elimination Chamber and be against Randy Orton at WrestleMania. And I was glad to see, I think it was Bray Wyatt, eliminate John Cena. That was a happy moment for me. I never liked the fact that some of those guys, even when it was The Rock doing it, I didn't like it. You know, being away from WWE for most of the year, and I know people say, well, The Rock and John Cena have done it for years, but you know, those kind of guys that are away from WWE for most of the year, doing films, television, whatever it is they want to do, and then they suddenly get the urge to come back just around the big payday of WrestleMania and dominate, and so that guys or women, WWE superstars who have been there for the whole year, working hard on every house show, on every pay-per-view, on every television show, every house show, every pay-per-view, every network special, doing whatever publicity they're asked to do. They can't make onto the WrestleMania card because John Cena or The Rock or such are there, taking up a spot where they really deserve to be on that show. I know Cena will probably most likely be involved at WrestleMania. It's still up in the air whether we see Triple H versus Seth Rollins, but I was very glad to see Bray Wyatt win the WWE Championship. Who it seems, I know Daniel Bryan said on that Talking Smack that they're still, I think we're standing about 45 days away from WrestleMania, somewhere in that region. There's still a lot of time between now and WrestleMania, whether we'll even see Bray Wyatt versus Randy Orton. And I don't think, to be honest, the Randy Orton and the Wyatt family thing has worked. I don't particularly like that. Maybe I think they're just trying to do something different with Randy Orton, but I personally don't like it. I don't like the way that they keep splitting up the Wyatt family and then bringing them back together and then splitting them up, and now Luke Harper's away from the Wyatt family, and I don't quite like it. Either they have them together or they have them apart. It's kind of making their mind up time. But Bray Wyatt, I'm really overjoyed to see him be the WWE champion. I look forward to seeing what he does over the summer. Hopefully he will keep that championship after WrestleMania. I don't think that WWE would gain anything, depending on what championship or what match is the main event, the last match of the night. I don't think WWE will gain anything of Randy Orton walking out of WrestleMania with the championship, but I think they will gain of having Bray Wyatt as the champion walking out of WrestleMania, and them really pushing Bray Wyatt and having the Summer of Fear or some kind of summer or whatever, this kind of period for Bray Wyatt and being pushed as the WWE champion. I think WWE would really benefit from Bray Wyatt rather than Randy Orton. And talking of NXT, their champions, of course, the United Kingdom champion is Tyler Bate. Apparently he's going to be defending the title on NXT. We still haven't heard anything about any potential WWE UK show. I'm not entirely convinced that will actually happen. The NXT Tag Team Championships is held by the Authors of Pain, Akam and Razor. I think they did this the right way. They won the Dusty Classic, and then they defeated DIY at TakeOver San Antonio. DIY don't really need to fear anything from losing the Tag Team Championships. Two guys again who could slot into the main roster, and I'll talk about that momentarily. Authors of Pain, they could maybe losing a little bit of weight, but hopefully they're being guided by Paul Ellering, really, and I mean, being advised by him, being taught by him, because he had a wealth of knowledge and experience. The Authors of Pain look like two guys who are not just, using their weight to push people around. They look like they can move. They look like they can act. They do have some decent wrestling talent. Again, some of these people in NXT, they just need seasoning. They just need time to develop. But Authors of Pain, again, a separate looking tag team, not atypical look, WWE look that they have. And I know that WWE are bringing in a lot of talent from likes of China. So I think the Authors of Pain, again, they're a good tag team, and I hope that they stay in. I actually hope that Authors of Pain stay in NXT until they are actually genuinely ready to hit the main roster. We've seen some other people go into the main roster and it's not really worked for them. Tyler Breeze, it's not really worked for him. The Ascension as a tag team, they since they've been in the main roster, they were really dominant in NXT, but they've not done a huge deal really in the main roster. So I think until the timing's right, until they're ready, Authors of Pain should certainly remain in the ranks of NXT. Talking to one who's ready for promotion to the main roster, Asuka, I think, would be a perfect addition to the main roster. To be honest, there's not a whole lot they can do with her after they defeat her for the Women's Championship. I'm really hoping that she doesn't get an injury at any time and that she has to relinquish the Women's Championship. She's held it for around about 10 months. Since April the 1st, 2016, she's held that championship. I would like to see Nikki Cross take that title. I'm not entirely sure it will happen. Obviously, I know Nikki from Nikki and Kelly and Dane of Sanity from watching them wrestle here in Scotland at a couple of different companies. But Asuka, I think again, it's very difficult when you've got somebody on an undefeated streak. How you handle them after you make them lose for the first time is very, very important, and it will make or break Asuka, unfortunately, in WWE. But I think if she loses the title and then goes up to the main roster, I think that's kind of one way of maybe sidestepping any damage to her character in one way. Asuka is, talent. I think she's ready to go up to the main roster. Whether it be post WrestleMania or not, I'm not entirely sure. I'd like to see them maybe hang back on a few promotions and not make it right. We're post WrestleMania. I'll talk about that in a second. But Asuka, I think, is ready. NXT Championship is currently held by Glorious Bobby Roode. He had a great match with Shinsuke Nakamura at TakeOver San Antonio, and I'm sure I picked Bobby Roode to win that title at that event, and he did, and I'm very glad to see it. Bobby Roode is obviously a talented wrestler, and for him to be such a big name, to kind of underpin NXT, I think is a great thing for NXT in itself. There's a few thoughts I have on NXT before I finish up. First of all, talking about that post WrestleMania season, I would like to maybe see them spread the promotions through the year so it's not instantly. It might even be putting WWE under pressure of, right, we're 40 odd days away from WrestleMania. Who are we promoting post WrestleMania? Where are we going to put them? How are we going to handle them? That kind of pressure for WWE, I think, would make them maybe fumble the handling of their characters because it'll be different people in charge of the creative side from NXT to Raw or SmackDown. Talking about promotions this year, obviously we're not going to see a great deal of talent come in. I think Ricochet is contracted till later in this year through his Lucha Underground. I firmly believe he should hopefully join WWE within the next year or so once all that legal stuff is set aside or expired. With Lucha Underground, I really think he should go to WWE while he can. Kenny Omega has decided to remain with New Japan Pro Wrestling, so I can't honestly see a huge name really coming to WWE or NXT this year, which is a bit unfortunate. The names that for promotion, though, I like to see Shinsuke Nakamura be promoted, again, Asuka to be promoted, and there's those kind of people I think could fit in very well. The Revival as well, and I actually would like to see the Revival be promoted. I think they're ready to be promoted completely, ready, and I would actually like to see the Revival go on Monday Night Raw. As I said earlier, American Alpha are on SmackDown, and I would actually not like to see an immediate kind of redo of the American Alpha the Revival feud. I think the Revival could have some great matches with some of the guys, some of the tag teams on Raw, like the Usos, Luke Gallows and Carl Anderson. I'd love to see that match, and keep them apart. So maybe in a year or two, with WWE obviously using the footage from their feud in NXT, whether it be one tag team moving from one brand to the other, or a fans voting thing like they used to have for Cyber Sunday, Taboo Tuesday. Those two teams, for whatever reason, however they do it, they get together. They begin another feud. We know that these two teams are going to collide. I would love to see them kept apart for a good while. So the Revival on Monday Night Raw, American Alpha on SmackDown, or vice versa if they want to change around the tag teams in WWE. But for those two tag teams to be separated because of the tremendous feud, but it's just recently in NXT, and although the matches were really, really good, I would like to see those two teams have time set to be separated. I know that American Alpha and Revival have already been separated for a little while, but I mean on the main roster for both those tag teams. So both those tag teams again, hopefully still stick together. That they have time to develop, they have time to adjust to the main roster, they have time to grow and develop even further, and then they're not. It's almost like from boys growing into men situation when they faced each other in NXT. There were young tag teams, there were developing tag teams. Now they're developed. Now they're maybe even again. For whatever reason, maybe one of these, maybe one day we will have an inter-promotional pay-per-view a couple of years down the line, where we see American Alpha versus the Revival. So I'd like to see those two tag teams separated for a good time, good length of time. So NXT's got they've got a good setup there. Obviously, some people will claim that it's Triple H. Triple H is trying to claim the responsibility and the credit for developing NXT and having all these people come up, and people have their different opinions on that. But looking at the WWE champions, there's some good fresh faces. There are faces that a lot of them will come through the independent scene and not completely fully homegrown talent through WWE, but there are some like Bray Wyatt, like Naomi, like the Authors of Pain, but I would say that right now to have a lot of WWE have a lot of fresh faces in the championship scene, and I think in a few years we'll look back on this as being a really good time when it comes to WWE producing fresh talent, producing fresh matchups, and I think hopefully we'll look back at this time with WWE producing some really young talent that eventually will make it to the main event stage, and we'll look back and see, wow, 2016, 2017 was really the time where a lot of fresh young talent came through WWE into the main roster, however they did it. That was a great time for fresh young talent in WWE.